So on the steps of the Capitol, the day before these Epstein victims stepped out and spoke very powerfully about what is they went through and what is it they want to see with the release of these files. One one Thomas Massie spoke with CNN about what is that has already been given and what is it they expect to get next.
It's like only 1% of what they possess. And 97% of it's already been released. I'm afraid this is going to be like Pam Bondi's binders. Is people are going to dig into it and say there's nothing new here. They haven't given us anything. They've given us the sleeves off their vest.
The president's called it a hoax.
He's called it a hoax. I hope he doesn't say that after tomorrow when 10 of the survivors testify in public. That would be very disrespectful.
Thomas Massie speaking out, crossing party lines, specifically with the president of the United States and Mike Johnson, who just want to give that 1% of those Epstein files that they're all expecting. So after 6 of these victims spoke with the Oversight Committee and the rest of the House hasn't heard it yet, folks are stepping out. But there's something that's been the continuous theme here when it comes to how this White House is responding. Democratic Representative Robert Garcia pointed that out here.
We're all working together on oversight to get this done in every single possible way. And it's important that we're centering the victims, that we hear their stories like we did today, and continue to support and believe them in the days and weeks ahead.
Is the White House doing anything? Are they actively involved with trying to prevent people from voting for this discharge petition?
I have heard tonight from folks in Congress, including Republicans, that the White House is actively right now telling Republicans to not sign the discharge petition. And of course, that petition is what would allow and force a vote on the floor that Mike Johnson could easily put up on his own, but is not interested in true disclosure.
If they want real disclosure, they shouldn't be rallying against it.
There, Representative Garcia talking about how the White House is actively pressuring, and this is on Tuesday, actively trying to pressure other Republicans because he expects Republicans in Congress to do his bidding. And you kind of can't blame him. That's what he's expected, and that's what they've been doing ever since he stepped his ass back into office. So why wouldn't he openly pressure them to not release it? But the question then becomes is why would he not want them to release it?
But I want to be clear that what we heard today is a cover-up. And it is a cover-up of epic proportions, a cover-up involving the United States government, the justice system, rich and powerful individuals, a cover-up potentially involving foreign countries and foreign actors. And yes, here today in this House, as our colleagues are up in the House chamber in the Rules Committee, a cover-up by the Republicans in this chamber. Because as you will find out in the coming days and weeks, this goes all the way to the top. So let's be clear about that. There has been a systemic failure of the justice system for decades. A systemic failure to hold people who are powerful and have money to account, and that has allowed not just hundreds but potentially thousands of women, not only in the United States but around the world, to be bought, sold, and trafficked for sex, not only by Jeffrey Epstein but by his associates and his rich and powerful friends. And as these stories come forward, whether they're stories that have already been told, they're stories in those FBI files that have not been released by the Department of Justice and which they must release because of the subpoena, or whether they are stories of victims that have not yet come forward, we will hold you all accountable for this miscarriage of justice, for the abuse of these women and the abuse of this institution to try to cover it up. Because there happens to be a very powerful person at the top who doesn't want these stories out.
He can dispel anything that people are talking about as far as how this is political, and look at the Republican Party covering this up by refusing to continue to cover it up. I think she was speaking very directly and powerfully about how high this has gone and how far back it's gone. She said decades of a cover-up. So again, if the principle is to no longer cover these things up, you won't have to worry about saying, or the Democrats cover this up? I got a good answer for you. Yes. Because Folks that are rich, elite, and powerful don't sit on one side of the aisle versus another. These folks feel they're untouchable. So when you have attorneys generals from previous administrations, presidents from previous administrations, Congress people from previous administrations and times that have been covering this up, yes, they've covered it up, or they've ignored it and didn't even feel like they had to actively cover it up because no one else was asking about it. Now they're asking about it, and Donald Trump is sitting in the White House going, it's a hoax, because he's an idiot.
There have been survivors of Jeffrey Epstein speaking at a press conference on Capitol Hill. They're calling for these case files, these documents to be released. And Thomas Massie, who was sponsoring a discharge petition to get the House to vote on releasing those documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. You know, it reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Representative Stansbury wasn't done yet. I enjoyed what she was saying, and we'll see, because I believe she's going to stand by this last statement that she gave.
So that is why we subpoenaed these records. That is why these victims were here today to bravely tell their stories. And whatever justice looks like in the coming days and weeks and years, we will follow every thread. We will follow every piece of evidence. We will follow every bank record. We will follow every investigation. We will follow every court order. And we will make sure that those who were abused by these men are held accountable.
You're going to have to answer to these types of statements now. So we've always had the game of politics being played. Again, I mentioned Mike Johnson, James Comer, who said, well, we released that 1%. Thomas Massie, another Republican, had to expose that lie. They're cornered now. So listen to the way Representative Stansbury was talking then about how she's going to go about this. And many folks apparently are behind her, and she's one of many that's going to be a part of going about this, versus the way the Speaker of the House and the leadership in this country is now talking about what is it they've done and what is it they want to continue doing. There's fire on one side, and there's some con man selling on the other.
Manu, you just spoke with Congressman Massie. What did he share with you?
Yeah, he indicated that he is moving full steam ahead. He believes ultimately that he will have enough Republican support to push this measure through, at least get a vote in the full House. Remember how this will essentially work. The Republican leadership, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, does not want a vote on this measure to compelling the release of these Epstein documents. He says that is not necessary. He believes that there's already a process underway to release these documents, and he says that he's urging Republicans not to sign on to this effort. But there is this, what often is a long shot effort to circumvent the leadership of the United States House, get enough support, a majority support of the full House, meaning at least 5 Republicans would be needed to sign with all Democrats in order to actually call for a vote that would put this measure on the floor of the full chamber. Just moments ago, Massie indicated to me that he believes that he will have enough Republican support to move ahead. And he said that there is considerable pressure coming from the White House on Republicans not to side with him.
Wouldn't that be a bad look? Mike Johnson, who said he wants all this transparency, who said he works with the president, we're looking to get to the bottom of this, we don't want any of this happening, would have to get forced by enough folks, bipartisan folks, to sign on, to force them to have a full vote to release these files. How would that make Mike Johnson then look? After we've heard not only just from Representative Garcia, but also from Massie that there's pressure from the White House to not do that. The pressure from the White House says don't do it. Mike Johnson says don't do it. And then the rest of Congress, enough members of the rest of Congress, push for that to happen. It could be happening right now. I'm not sure when they were planning on doing this, because that press conference with these victims just ended not too long ago. And that could press then some kind of action that these folks who keep saying they want action but refuse to actually have any action keep walking away from. I think that's a pretty big indictment.